microphone that's properly grounded and you have an amplifier that's hot, you're toast. So usually what you want to do is to fix this. And again, I'm not encouraging you to do this yourself, but it's good to know for education purposes. You remove this capacitor, you take a 3-prong cord, you tie the 3rd prong to the chassis ground, you tie your other 2 prongs to this transformer, and that's it. They touch the transformer, power is not connected to anywhere else, and the chassis is earth grounded. And that is the safest way to run an amplifier. So typically, if I get an amp and somebody asks me to modify, first thing I do is I switch it to 3-prong. Because then it's safer when I'm working on it. This caused a problem once because it turned out I had an amp that a friend brought me was working perfectly fine with its 2-prong connector. I ran it through an isolation transformer, hooked up the 3rd prong, and all went to hell. It caused all kinds of weird noises, like physical noises. You could hear the circuit vibrating. And what it turned out was, remember, this winding is wrapped around the core. So what happened is one of the windings of the transformer wrapped around this iron core shorted to the core. And when the core was held into the chassis, it was tying that core to ground potential. And that side was tied to hot. So that when you powered up the thing, it was trying to connect hot to ground through the mounting motor. And so it turned out that the amp couldn't be converted to 3-prong because of this short. So anyway, it was clearly unsafe. So unfortunately, it couldn't be repaired, and it wasn't cost effective to buy a power transformer. On the downsides. But 3-prong conversions are very important. Newer amps come with 3-prong, so you're usually safe with newer amps. Okay, this leads to the other, tube amp, well, any amp can kill you. One of the ways that they can kill you is if you've got a 2-prong and you drive your chassis hot. Well, there are certain amps that you can't convert to 2-prong. And these have been dubbed Widowmaker amps. And basically, the way you know you've got a Widowmaker is you don't have a power transformer. I have an example of it in a second. So what it does is, I kind of alluded to this last week, it uses lower plate voltages, basically rectifies line current to give your plate voltages. And then the heaters are not 6 or 12 volt where you have a separate heater supply. They're numbers that usually stack up so they add up to 110. So if you see an amplifier that has like a 35W4, a 35Z5, or a 50L6, you're probably looking at a Widowmaker design. Now, since you don't have a power transformer, you can't convert them to 3-prong. Basically the way they work is neutral is tied to chassis. Period. End of story. The only way to fix that is to install your own transformer. So you get an isolation transformer, which is an isolation transformer normally just means it's a 1-to-1 transformer. But here you're talking a 1-to-1 power transformer. It's got a current. And then you can wire it to a 3-prong. So take a look at an example. You look at this tube here, right? This is a Dan Electro amplifier I mentioned. This is the Envoy, right? Remember I told you Dan Electro was famous for making cost-effective solutions, let's say. Express paperboard, that kind of thing. Well, a lot of people made these Widowmakers. Dan Electro was not the only one. But they made it. And here, if you look down here, you see, there's your AC power. There's your fuse. Or here's your plug. That's the light. Here are the heaters. So you just got heaters stacked in series. Okay? And so you've got these 25-volt heaters, and then this is a 6-volt heater and a 6-volt heater. So add those up. 25, 25, 25, 25, 6 is 112. Gosh, that looks like line voltage. That's one way to tell the Widowmaker. If you add up all the heaters, and they come out to be about 110, 112, that's your first clue. But the real definition you can't beat is look at the power supply. There's no transformer. You can have a Widowmaker style amp that will have heaters that stack up this way, but sometimes it may have that isolation transformer built in. One of the amps I had that I picked up ages ago, which again is pressed paper, it was made by a company called Electrolab. They had something that looked like a Widowmaker if you added up all the voltages, but it had a power transformer. So it's on my bench waiting to be converted to 3-prong. Okay, so that's a Widowmaker. Beware. You find a cheap tube amp, small cheap tube amp, make sure it's not a Widowmaker, because otherwise you're going to have to find an isolation transformer. And it's not easy to find a cheap source of isolation transformer. They're usually costly. Not like ridiculously expensive, but enough so that it would make it less of a market. Okay. So these are the demos I was supposed to bring in. I forgot again. I have tubes that I cut open. We brought in the driver champ, and this week we've got the boogie. So without further ado, we shall take a look at the Mesa Boogie.